Well, indeed, a new witness will take the stand this morning in the trial of these 5 men accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa. Unfortunately, even if we did know, we're not at liberty to say who will be taking the stand this morning. But just looking at the current trajectory, perhaps, of the state, you would know, of course, over the last week that has passed, the best friend of Senzo Meyiwa was still on the stand. Tumelo Madlala wrapped up his testimony in re-examination on Friday. And this was after several days of being grilled on the stand about his relationship with Senzo Meyiwa and also what he knew about the day when he says that intruders had come inside the house, one yielding a firearm, where he says those intruders had demanded cell phones as well as money. A lot of, Tumelo Madlala's character coming under question inside this court. You would recall a lot of focus was also put on the photographs, personal photographs that he had sold of his best friend, Senzo Meyiwa. The defense in this matter really trying to point out to a friend that didn't care, according to them, about his best friend, even insinuating at some point that he may have been jealous of Senzo Meyiwa's career. You would recall towards the last part of the cross-examination of Advocate Zandile Mshololo, the defense trying to poke holes in his testimony, saying that Madlala had previously told this court that the person who had shot Senzo Meyiwa may have been standing behind him, but the doctor's report, a post-mortem report, indicates that Senzo Meyiwa had been shot from the front of his chest towards this direction, according to the diagram which we saw in court. Also, we saw during his testimony him explaining what had happened after, the intruders had come inside the house. He says that essentially the first intruder had come inside the house yielding a gun and asking for cell phones as well as money. At some point, there had been a fracas inside the house where Kelly Khumalo, her mother, and Zandi Khumalo, had tried to sort of, if I can, wrestle with one of the intruders inside the house. He got the opportunity to run away and go inside the bedroom, and then said that Mtokozi Sitwala, who was one of the other occupants inside the house at the time that Meyiwa was killed, had basically opened the door for him. He described how he had come out of the bedroom and seen his best friend lying in the lounge area after he had been shot, described how he and others then had taken Senzo Meyiwa to the hospital, and how he found his best friend inside the hospital, and had basically spoken to him and asked him why he had invited him to Johannesburg, yet this was going to happen, that he would get to experience something so painful. What we also saw was at the end of his testimony, a very emotional Madlala. You would know that we were not allowed to take photographs or even live visuals of Madlala while he was on the stand. What we witnessed when he left the stand on Friday, he was extremely emotional, and many saying that, understandably so, in the instance that this is someone that was inside the house when this tragedy had taken place. But the defense basically trying to discredit his testimony by all means, indicating or saying that, Madlala was not a true friend. He had basically was not telling the truth about what had taken place there. Also, what we saw during the course of that is that, the relationship between the Meyiwas as well as Madlala, who we were introduced to as, Senzo Meyiwa's best friend, him confirming on the stand that it was a fractured relationship, and that relationship had essentially turned sour after the death of Senzo Meyiwa, and the defense putting it to him, saying that that relationship had turned sour simply because the Meyiwas had believed that he was not telling the truth about what happened inside the house. So what we're expecting here today, the witness expected to arrive just shortly after 9 o'clock. We are, however, not allowed to say on live television or even tweet who that person is until they have taken the stand in this particular matter. You would recall that the defense or legal counsel in this particular matter, including the judge as well, has also indicated or stressed a number of times the sensitivity of this case, in that there have been instances of death threats that have been made, and the safety of witnesses in this particular matter is paramount, in that many of the witnesses, we believe, in this matter are quite afraid to come and testify here. Many of them, and I would even suspect that in this particular matter of Mthokozi Sithwala, we will certainly hear, if at all there had been a matter. You would recall that some of the people that were inside the house included, as I indicated, if we look at the trajectory of what has been happening, the state having called the first witness that was inside the house at the time that Senzo Meyiwa was called, you would recall, it had been Kelly Khumalo, Zandi Khumalo, Mthokozi Sithwala, Longwe Twala, as well as Tumelo Madlala, that had been inside the house. So perhaps we don't know at this particular stage who will take the stand, but if the state is to continue on the trajectory of which it has been, by calling a witness that was inside the house, there could be a possibility. I'm not at liberty to say at this particular stage. There could be a possibility that someone who was inside the house at the time would also be called to the stand, but we don't know for certain at this particular stage. And also, we've also seen inside this court that there had been, instances where the lawyers of those inside the house, at the time that Senzo Meyiwa was called, the lawyers representing at least Kelly Khumalo in this instance, had also previously put through an application wanting to be a watching brief in this particular case, and watch proceedings from here. You would recall that Kelly Khumalo's lawyer had also wanted access to the bail application of accused number 2, Bongani Ndanzi, in this matter, the transcripts of the proceedings, and that was denied by this court because the defense as well as the state believed that the presence of the lawyers of those who could possibly take the stand in this matter should not be inside court. They felt that it would jeopardize the purity of this particular case. We also saw the lawyer of Mthokozi Sithwala also come to court last week. He also wanted to be in court on a watching brief, and that seemed to have been decided before the court proceedings had started, in that there was an indication, that he wanted to understand from the court if he would be allowed to sit in on the proceedings. But we then saw him sit in the gallery, and we understand then that, the same would apply in the Kelly Khumalo matter regarding a legal representative towards the lawyer of Mthokozi Sithwala. So those are some of the things that had transpired over the past a couple of days. But to say for certain who will take the stand this morning, we certainly cannot say at this particular moment, also to guard the safety of those witnesses. So we cannot for certain say who will take the stand. But if it goes by the trajectory of what the state has been going with in terms of this case, possibly, and we cannot say for certain, someone that was inside the house.